Hello, everybody. All right, yeah, that's left over from last week. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Hello, everybody. How are you on this glorious Wednesday? I know it's Wednesday today. I was very unclear what day of the week it was on Monday, but I am very clear that today is Wednesday. And it's been a very beautiful sunny day outside in the UK. I have been in here, so I haven't got to enjoy it, but at least I know it was out there. And my washing got done, which is always very exciting. So, hi guys, I can see a few of you popping up. Hey, Leslie, my Academy member, awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Kevin again. Hey, how you doing, Kevin? Thank you for your comment on YouTube. I did get it and reply to you, so hopefully you got that. Oh, so we've got a new name here. So, Sulushan. I'm going to go for Sulushan, so I hope I pronounced that right. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining today. Tyrone, hello. Welcome back, I think. I'm going to go, there's a new name here. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce this. I apologize. I'm going to mispronounce this, so you can tell me how to pronounce it phonetically at some point later. I'm going for I'm sorry, I can't do it. Whatever I do, I'll do wrong. So please tell me phonetically with my poor English pronunciation how I pronounce your name, lady. With the lovely head tipped this way. Anyway, Sulushan. Another Sulushan. Oh, you're the same Sulushan. You're saying hello to me. Henna V, welcome back. Henna V, how's it going? Right, so where's everybody from then? I'm going to try and waste a little bit of time. It always takes everybody a few minutes to rock up. So tell me where you're from. LSG, you're an Academy member. You're preparing for your panel. That's cool. Where are you from, LSG? I'm glad that's a G and not a D, or this might be an entirely different conversation. Let me know where you're from. Kevin, I seem to think you're from... I was going to go for Texas for Kevin. So LSG, you're from Houston, Texas. I definitely seem to think Kevin's from Texas. Oh, it's Leslie. Ah, okay, cool. Leslie. Oh yeah, you wrote that further up, didn't you? Leslie G. Right, I get it. I wasn't paying enough attention earlier on. Henna's back from India. Oh, it's very late in India, Henna. You're up late. It's like, 10 o'clock in India at this point, I think. JJ, welcome. I'm glad that you've been watching my YouTube channel, catching up on my older videos. I'm so sorry, JJ, and in fact, everybody about my older videos. I've been doing this for quite some time now, and at the beginning, I did not know what I was doing, and the picture is grainy and the sound quality is terrible. So I'm really sorry for some of those older videos. I am working through them to get them updated, but slowly, I'm afraid. So the content is all good. It's just the delivery, I think, needs a bit more polish. Okay, Kevin Powers, South Haven, Mississippi. Very nice. Vin Matt. Oh, you got my suggestion for the online assessment. Cool. Yes, that's on my YouTube video, Vin. Where are you from, Vin? USA. It's a big place, Vin. Whereabouts in the USA? Kevin, I remembered where you're from. Well, I mean, come on. You have to be impressed with the number of people that I speak to or speak to myself to. It's a bit of a weird concept. I remembered you were from Texas. I am proud of myself. Saeed from the UK. Yay, up the Brits. Oh, JJ from Hampshire. Oh, I love Hampshire. That's lovely. More Brits. Alakea, you're from India as well. That's awesome. Gopi from Pittsburgh. I think I've had somebody else from Pittsburgh before, so that might have been you, but that was a little while ago. Oh, wow. So we've got a real eclectic mix. Not many Europeans, not many Spanish or German or Italians. I usually get a few of them to this session. Hopefully they'll show up later. They're European. They're very relaxed, you know. Right. Okay. So let's... IJ from... the Parisian... See, I told you the Europeans do show up. You're from Paris. Wonderful. So IJ from Paris. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. That was a little bit of a challenge for me. All right. So let me do my usual intro. So for Kevin, Henna, A couple of other of you, I'm sorry, you've heard this before. You can go do something else for the next kind of 5 minutes or so whilst I give everybody else the usual intro, and then we can get things going. So, I am Gigi. I am the Amazon interview whiz, and I interviewed and I was a senior leader, and most importantly for all of you, I was a bar raiser at Amazon for years. And I bar raised on tech and non-tech roles. I hired literally hundreds of Amazonians from all over the globe in all different job families. And I know exactly what it takes to get hired at Amazon. As well as my YouTube channel, which is where I guess all of you found me, I run the Amazon Interviewers Academy, which is effectively a digital program of preparation masterclasses that will tell you, alongside my YouTube channel, pretty much everything you need to know about acing your Amazon interview at an absolute fraction of the cost. I've calculated it's about 90% less than if you were going to try and get the same information from a personal coach. And I did that because when I was a bar raiser, I could kind of tell the difference between the people who had had preparation coaching and those that hadn't. They were more confident, they knew exactly what they were talking about, they landed the leadership principles, and they had some of the insider lingo. I got curious, I started to research what it cost for an Amazon interview preparation coach, and it turned out it was rather a lot of money. And I thought that was unfair and not particularly inclusive. So I figured if you could build a digital program, you could make that type of expertise that I offer available to a lot more people. So that's what I did. And if you hang around until the end, I will give you an awesome freebie directly from my academy, no strings attached, but will make a huge difference to your interview. Okay, so here's how we play this today. I will be looking through the comments and I will be looking for questions that I think are going to be useful for the majority of people. I'm not going to answer technical questions. There are about 300 different job families in Amazon, and no one human being, as wonderful as I am, could possibly be a technical expert in all of them. So chances are I couldn't answer the technical questions, so I'm not going to try. Please don't just say I am going for a program manager job interview. Any tips? Yes, I have about 2.5 hours worth of tips all on my YouTube channel. So go there if that's your question. And then finally, what's my other thing? I don't remember what my other thing is. Okay. Anyway, couldn't have been important or I'd have remembered it. So just to let you know then, yes, this is definitely a free session. No one's going to have to pay any money for me to answer their questions here, but there is a different type of world charge, which is thumbs up. So if you give me a thumbs up, it means the YouTube algorithm recognizes that there is some damn fine content going on here today. And there will be, I promise you, but I need you to give me some thumbs up so that YouTube knows it, and then it will give me more prominence in the algorithm, which will boost my channel overall, which means more people will get access to my content. So if you could do that, 6 thumbs up or so in front of your question would help me and let me know that you know and you're supporting everybody else in the way that I'm supporting you. I do have super chats and super stickers enabled, so if you have a really important question that you absolutely want to make sure I don't miss, because there's quite a few of us here today and sometimes I miss questions, bang yourself up a little super sticker, or if you would just like to say thank you to me for my efforts, which I always appreciate, then you can do that as well. Right, so I think that covers everything off. So why don't we get started? So Leslie G was first out of the gates, and you're an Academy member. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. We have another Academy Q&A session, I think, coming up on Thursday, which is exclusive to Academy members. Maybe not this Thursday, but next Thursday. Check out Discord for the schedule for Q&As for Academy members if you haven't already, Leslie. Okay, so are there typical questions the bar raiser will ask L7 non-technical candidates? Absolutely not, Leslie. There are no typical questions that a bar raiser will ask. The bar raiser will ask you no different questions to the questions that will be asked of you from every other person that's on the interview panel. There is absolutely nothing special about your interview experience with a bar raiser. I get very irritated, as you can see me building up to here, when I see content online where people try and convince you that there are special questions or special strategies about how you deal with a bar raiser. It's just nonsense. I'm not sure why they put that out there. I could hypothesize, but I'm not going to do that. No, Leslie, just prepare for your bar raiser in exactly the same way as you would prepare for everybody else. That assumes you even know who your bar raiser is. If you think you've worked it out, fine. But ultimately, if you treat everybody as if they were your bar raiser, you will not go far wrong. So good luck, L7, big scope job. So fingers crossed for you. And as I say again, Leslie, if you're looking for a little bit more of a dialogue, you can join the Q&A, which I think actually is not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. Okay, so also guys, I have new spectacles. Like maybe you've been here before. Kevin, you were here the other day. Did you not notice my new specs? I'm very excited by them. I think it's a whole new look for me. But anyway, I guess that's not why we're here to have a fashion conversation, is it? All right, let's see what else we have here then. Okay, Sulashan, there are no thumbs up here, but you asked the question before I mentioned the thumbs up. So I will give you an out this time. So how many leadership principles should be in strength to pass the panel? Doesn't work that way, I'm afraid, Sulashan, unhelpfully. It just doesn't work that way. There's no real fine mathematical calculation that says you need 6 of this, 2 of that, and 7 of the other. Anyway, that's far too many leadership principles. It doesn't work like that. So effectively, there will be key leadership principles that are incredibly important to the hiring manager for the role that you are interviewing for. And they will want to see either strength or some strength shown in those. If you're not at that end of the spectrum and you're further down in the mixed or some concern, then chances of getting that job are very, very slim. If you're kind of pushed towards the strength side of things in the key leadership principles, then it will just be a question of, okay, this candidate feels good here. Now we need to look at their picture overall and see if overall they are a bar raising candidate. So to know that to say someone's bar raising, you'd want to see obviously more on the green end of the spectrum than on the amber and red end of the spectrum. But there's no kind of mathematical that says you need, as I said at the beginning, this many greens, this many ambers, and this many reds. I'm afraid it just doesn't work like that. Okay, I hope that was helpful. It is very hot in my office, so I'm sorry if I have to pause to get some water or I'm going to get a screaming headache. And I had my second COVID jab, AstraZeneca, earlier on today. The first one did not end well in terms of the night that I had after it, so I'm a little bit on tenterhooks for how tonight will be. So excuse me whilst I have a drink. Okay. So moving on then, what else do we have? What other delights have you people brought for me today? Oh, Henna, you did notice my glasses before I said anything. Oh, I love you. Top of the class for Henna. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of them. Oh, okay. Right, okay. Let's keep going. Where have we got? Scrolling. Okay, let me just read this one. Okay, hint. I definitely recognize that picture. I'm not sure I recognize your name, but that picture, I remember doing that in a previous live. So welcome back. Or someone else is using the same one, either way. Okay, so hopefully I can cover off this quickly. You recently accepted a new grad STE offer and realized you have your preferred name entered for legal first name on the student portal. Will this be an issue? I mean, it shouldn't be the end of the world, but you should definitely let your recruiter know that or email back to the email address that sent something to you, because that will then end up being processed on offer documents, etc. And of course you can always change those things, but you know, the longer these things go on and the further they get systematized in the different platforms with different documents, the more pain in the backside it will be to change. So now you've realized, just let your recruiter or whoever at the other end of that email know that's the case. Okay. Right. So, and do you know what? I see myself, I watch these things back because I edit them, and I see myself kind of squinting and gurning and making funny faces, and then I realize how terrible that must look for you guys. So I'm going to try and keep really po-faced as I read through these. Okay, come on guys, let's have some questions that aren't just give me generic information, please, Gigi. Oh, so take a pause. Let's take a pause for no reason other than you deserve a bit of recognition. You had your phone interview yesterday and you receive a call and you're moving forward to the next phase. Well, congratulations to you. Fingers crossed. We took a pause and now we're back. What else have we got? Okay, Kevin, I read your note. Good, well done. All right, Ashish. Ashish, we're missing thumbs up. Have you given me any later on? No, okay. In case you arrived late, Ashish, or anybody else who has just recently arrived, there is a price for answering questions with me, and that's thumbs up. Thumbs up helps the algorithm know that there is good stuff happening here, and there is good stuff happening here. So please, before your question, give me some thumbs up. Ashish, I'll give you a pass this time. So other than leadership principles, how should you be preparing for strategy related questions? Well, I have no idea what a strategy related question is. In an Amazon interview, you will only be asked some relatively clearly cut questions, which is either your introductory questions, things like, tell me about yourself, why Amazon? You might have the vague, talk me through your resume type questions. I would hope not, but you might get that. And then you will have either questions that are very specific to your technical area. If somebody wants to, for example, test your skills, if you're a SDE and they want you to talk them through how you would design a solution, those types of questions. Or you'll have behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when. Now, tell me about a time when questions should always be answered with an example from your past, which are aligned to the leadership principles, because the question, tell me about a time when, will be aligned to the leadership principle. That's it. I don't know what a strategy question other than those types of questions would be. So if you prepare yourself for those introductory type questions, prepare yourself for any questions that you might have to answer from a technical standpoint, depending on your discipline, and then prepare yourself for the behavioral questions, that should cover all of your bases. Good luck. Okay, moving on. Vin, I'm not ignoring your question, but actually I'm not quite sure how to answer it because it's quite a broad question. You're asking me to share my inputs on the second round interview. Again, you're going to need to be more specific than that, Vin. If you have a clear question about your particular experience or something you're unclear of, please bang it down. But that's too broader and vague a question for me to be able to answer. I'm really sorry, but I didn't want to ignore it. Okay. All right, Saeed, I think you have hit upon an interesting point here. So this is why I'm going to pick this out. So you say each of the leadership principles will have questions aligned, could be from 7 to 10. You shouldn't get 7 to 10 questions for each leadership principle. I think what you're saying is that the number of questions that are possible for an interviewer to ask you from the Amazon interview question bank equals, and actually some of the leadership principles have more than 10 questions. I think 15 is the largest kind of list. But don't forget, your Amazon interviewer isn't just going to be picking from the Amazon interview question bank. Most do, but some who are particularly experienced interviewers do make up their own as well. So you can't just rely on the fact that if you think you know the questions from the Amazon interview question bank, that those will be the ones that you get, because your interviewer can make them up as well. Okay, so what homework would I recommend for each of the leadership questions? Okay, so being specific language here, there are leadership principles and there are behavioral questions. There are between 10 to 15 behavioral questions associated with each leadership principle. What I do not support as a preparation methodology is for you to go out onto the internet, scroll through every single site you can find and capture all of the top interview questions or interview questions anybody has ever been asked and try to come up with an answer for each of them, because at minimum that's going to be 147, I think I counted, of every question I know in the question bank, and some more if particular interviewers went independent. That's just not a good use of time. What you need to do is be clear, or try and work out what the key leadership principles are for the role that you are interviewing for. And you do that by getting your job description and literally going line by line by line through the job description and trying to align the language with a leadership principle. So then you know what the key leadership principles are. And then you look into your career history and you identify a number of examples from your career history that align to those leadership principles. And you also pull out things in your career history that you just think are really, really impressive deliverables. And then you craft a couple of different stories for each leadership principles from those examples. Now, if you are an Academy member, you know I talk about the different facets of each leadership principle. If you can have an example for each facet, then you will have an example that covers off every single possible question in the Amazon interview question bank. You might just have to craft it a little bit. If you aren't an Academy member, clearly you're going to have to try and grasp that from your interpretation of the leadership principles as described by Amazon. But your goal is to have a couple of examples per leadership principle, because if you do, almost whatever question you're asked from the possible 10 to 15 plus the ones an interviewer decides to make up, you should be able to reshape your example to try and fit answering that question. So my suggestion for how you prepare for the leadership questions is have those key examples ready to go from the key leadership principles that you define from your job description. Have other examples from your career history that you think are awesome and fit them to leadership principles. And then you should really aim to have, I would say, not much more than 20 examples. Some recruiters will tell you a number much smaller than that. If you are more junior, it's gonna need to be smaller than that. So let's come up with a range of 10 to 20 examples that you can pull out of the bag and reshape regardless of the question that you're asked. Okay, I hope that was helpful, Said. Moving on, and another glass of water, or a sip of water. I don't think this bodes well for this evening for me. Okay. Moving on then, just having a quick squiz down, see what else we've got. Oh, Ashley Green just wanted to pop in and say hello. Oh, bless you, Ashley. You are absolutely welcome. You're always welcome at my lives anytime. Thanks for popping by. I appreciate the moral support. That's kind. Okay. Kevin. This is unusual, so I'm popping it up here just because I think people will see it in the replay, etc. So it's worth just pulling this out. You say that one interviewer actually told you the leadership principle they were looking for, but before asking the question, which is very unusual. I'm not sure. I mean, I've definitely never done that, offered it up, and I'm not sure I've really heard of another interviewer doing that. But lucky you, Kevin. you know, hopefully that served you well and gave you a little bit of a step up. So fingers crossed. Oh, and tell me a bit later on, or maybe offline, how your strategy went in terms of just letting people know about your pause before answering. I'd be curious to know how interviewers responded to that. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Take a pause. Take a pause. For an L6, should you strive to use stories that have big, complex scope versus simple stories? Yeah. That's true for everybody. Now, obviously, scope and complexity is relative to your level. So a big, complex example for an L4 is clearly not going to be a big, complex example for an L7. But it's always going to be a case of go big. Regardless of your level, you need to go as big as you possibly can for your experience, because roles at Amazon are big. They're big and they're complex and they have lots of responsibility and they have lots of ownership. So you're going to want to be able to convince your interviewers that you are big enough for the role. There are two main reasons why people fail Amazon interviews, and one of them is definitely lack of scope and complexity in their answers. So wherever you can, use big, complex examples. You may even make a strategic decision to use the same big, complex, strategic example twice rather than default to a less complex example, because it has a big complex example will usually have multiple different leadership facets in it, and therefore you can use it for different leadership principles and use it twice and still give really, really good data versus a or poor example for a leadership principle that's kind of simple and uncompelling. So always go big when it comes to Amazon interviews. I think that's true for almost every aspect of an Amazon interview. Go big. Okay. Now I'm going to have to slide back up and remind myself of how I pronounce your name. So spin, 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 spin. IJ. I'm going to go for that one, IJ. So I'm now going to scroll back down, IJ, and get to your question. Good question, like this one. So, can you answer leadership principle questions with non-professional experience, e.g. master's school projects, volunteer leadership experience? That is dependent on the level of the role that you're going for. So that is absolutely expected of people who are going for internships, graduate placements, sometimes MBAs, and also, the word has gone. It'll come to me. But yes, for a significant number of levels entering the business, you can definitely do that, because they know that apprenticeship, I knew the word would come to me eventually. It always happens. So graduates, MBAs, apprenticeships, and interns. You haven't had a lot of experience, and therefore Amazon knows that you don't have that to pull from, so you absolutely can pull from those other types of experiences. The really important thing to do, if that is your situation, is to really try and think about the equivalent terms, the language that matches across your experience base. So for example, let's imagine you're going to pull from your school period, from your master's. If they're talking about, for example, customers, and they want to ask you a question about customers, then maybe you were the head of some kind of club or organization at your school, university, college, whatever it is, and your customers were your members. So you can think about customers being members of your club/society. Or the question might be about working with a peer, or some kind of a challenging experience you had with a peer or a colleague. Well, again, you could, if we stick with the school example, maybe you did some kind of group project. You were on some kind of a committee, and your peer or your colleague is the person who was at the same level as you working on that project or being on that committee. So you can definitely use those examples You just need to find the relevant kind of cross-reference language. Anybody that doesn't fall into those categories, other than if you've literally had maybe 1 year's work experience at a push 2, you really shouldn't be using examples that are outside of a work context, because obviously it is much easier for your interviewer to be convinced that the behaviors of the past are applicable and will be the same in the future if you're talking about work experiences, because they can easily imagine those happening in Amazon. Equally, if you can't articulate a story that meets that leadership principle in a work context, your interviewer is going to be wondering why. So some groups, yes, but the vast majority of people who interview at Amazon are not in those groups, and therefore for them the answer is no. Okay, thank you for the question. Moving on then. So what else do we have? Kevin. Okay, so no thumbs up, Kevin. Guys, if you've just joined, if you want me to answer your question, please give me a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm know that there's good stuff here and favors my content, which I'm sure you want everyone else to have access to the same great content as you have, and that will make that happen. So, Kevin, you have to wait 6 months from last interview for the same role, but you can apply for another role immediately. Correct? No, not correct. If your interview has resulted in your recruiter telling you that you cannot apply again for 6 months, that means you can't apply to Amazon again for 6 months. That's called a not inclined, no recycle. I have a video about that on my YouTube, which is called, I think, the possible outcomes of your Amazon interview. So no, if you've been told not to apply again for 6 months, you can't apply for anything. If you apply, it will just be this ongoing process of being rejected over and over because you're not eligible to apply. So save yourself the time and the pain and just don't make those applications, Kevin. Okay. Vin. Powerpuff Gal's glasses. I have no idea what a Powerpuff Gal is. Maybe that shows my age. I don't know. I'll have to Google it after this. Now you've got me curious. Okay. Okay. Gopi, I'm not ignoring your question, but I cannot answer it. That's a specific technical question that I do not have the answer for. So didn't want to ignore it, but wanted to let you know that I'm not going into specific technical questions because there are about 300 different job families in Amazon and I cannot be a technical expert in all of them. I am an expert in the leadership principles and in interview strategy in general. Okay. Oh, DJ, you're going to give me another crazy question that you want me to tell you the leadership principle on. Oh, well, okay. I mean, these are fun, I guess. So last one, okay, dude? And then stop looking at these mad websites where you're getting all this stuff. Seriously, save yourself the time and effort. Let's have a look. How do you keep up with industry trends and what your competitors are doing? Is it learn and be curious or customer obsession? It is learn and be curious. That is a less crazy question. In fact, DJ, of all the questions you have asked me, that is the least crazy one you have come up with. So that is definitely a learn and be curious question. Thank you for that one. Oh, you crack me up, honestly. Okay. Hint. Hello, so it was you. I'm proud of myself that I can remember people's icons. I mean, come on. I remembered that Kevin was from Texas and Hint, I recognized your icon. I feel good about my memory, which in many other cases is absolutely appalling. But you were waitlisted, you got the offer. I remember you asking me what the odds were. It's all coming back to me now. I know a song about that, which I will not sing to you guys because you just don't need that in your life. But so congratulations, Hint, everybody. I like to take a moment when I know people have managed to get offers to ask you guys just to give them thumbs up, congratulate them. It is obviously all of your guys' goals. And I love to see this come up because it shows everybody that it's definitely possible. Of course it's possible. Amazon has 1 million employees worldwide, but I know sometimes when you're in the process, it feels like it's an impossible thing, and it's clearly not. So well done, Hint. Very, very proud of you. And I guess thank you for coming back then. You don't need me anymore, right? Awesome. Well done. Very well done. Okay. Okay. Then do you keep asking me the same question? So I can't share my inputs into the second round telephone 60 minutes interview for a senior solutions architect. That's too technically specific for what I can cover off here. It's all about the leadership principles and about interview strategy from what I can offer you in terms of today and the Amazon interviewers in general, because I'm not a senior or even a junior solutions architect. I wish I was. I'm very jealous of people with those skills, but I cannot give you that level of specificity, I'm afraid, Vin, Matt. Okay, Ashish, right, so by strategy you mean how would you improve a product? Saw many mock interviews like those. Non-tech product manager. So I've not seen many non-tech product managers being asked specific questions about how they would improve a product in the bar raising and interviews I've done. You say you've seen many mock interviews like that. Be interested to see who is running those mock interviews and whether they've been on the inside. But that, as an aside, I kind of had this question from a candidate in the academy the other day. So agnostic of whether I think it's likely or not likely to happen, this would be how I would respond to it, which would be, I have observed thing X, which I believe is an issue for customers for reason Y. I would propose to do Z. I believe this would benefit the customer because of W. That would be my very, very simple structure for how I would approach a question if somebody would say to me, how would you improve X? Now, clearly, if someone asked you, how would you improve Alexa? How would you improve Prime Video? How would you improve the checkout basket on the retail page? There are obviously an infinite number of possible improvements. Otherwise, they wouldn't be employing the armies of people that they do. So you might want to preface it with, well, there are a number of different improvements that you could possibly bring, but this is the key one, or these are the key two that I would prioritize if that were me. But you need to be clear on which ones those would be. But that would be my structure. I hope that helps. Okay. What else do we have here? Just spinning down, make sure I don't miss anything. It's very warm in my office. Sorry, I'm smiling because someone I know has just appeared. Thank you. Right. Alekia. I'm going to go with Alekia. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Thank you for my thumbs up. Very much appreciated. Bit worried about the examples for leadership principles as you don't have much experience to have all the leadership principle examples. What should you do? Okay, so you kind of fall into the category that we spoke about a little bit earlier, where you perhaps don't have an enormous amount of experience. So what you need to do is just, of the experience that you do have, try and think about how you could employ those good examples across multiple different leadership principles. So again, go big, pick the biggest ones that you have. Usually I would say try and only use them for 1 or 2 leadership principles. But if you're really junior, like an L4 or an L5, then it's actually quite common to have L4s and L5s repeat more times than perhaps an L6 or an L7 would. So if you were to repeat like a couple of examples a few times over 4 to 5 repeats is not a problem if you're in a more junior position. So just really think about your biggest examples and how they might fit into 3 different leadership principles, and then practice completely reshaping that example so it sounds, I'm going to make leadership principles up now, so it sounds really, really customer obsessed when you talk about it one way. So it sounds really, really earns trust. I should say earn trust. I always make that mistake. It infuriates me. When you talk about it in a different way, or it sounds really, really, really deliver results when you talk about it in the third way. And then that way you will be able to talk about all of the leadership principles, but you don't need the huge range of examples that perhaps I would expect from an L6 or an L7. Don't worry. As long as you can articulate them in the context of leadership principles, you will be fine. I promise. Okay, so moving on. Okay. Right. Now I understand, Vin Matt. I'm sorry if that was my lack of understanding. You're asking me what the format of your second round will be, whether it's going to be a mix of technical and behavioral or what. Okay. I'm sorry to say I can't answer that for you because different teams do it differently. So some teams will focus all of their technical questions on round 1, just to get it out of the way, to know that you have the technical expertise, and it will be over and done with then, and you will never have another technical question again, second round or final rounds. Other teams keep those technical questions coming through round 1, round 2, and round 3. So even within job families, different teams will play it differently. So my best suggestion is just be prepared to have to deal with both. And then if you're prepared, if you don't have to deal with both, then that's great. It's always better to be over prepared in my world anyway. So sorry, I can't give you the specific answer because the specific answer doesn't actually exist. And again, sorry, I didn't understand exactly what you were asking me a little bit earlier. Okay. Right. So there we go. Kevin has just made a very clear point then that the questions that were asked of him were not ones that he'd ever seen before. And I think that makes my point really valid about you can spend days, weeks trawling through the internet, finding all of those questions that people have posted on Glassdoor that they were asked, that Amazon coaches say that you are going to get asked, or websites say are the top most common questions. You can spend hours and hours and days and days and days pulling all of those together and having exact answers for each one, and still, per Kevin's experience, be asked questions that you've never heard of before. It is not a good use of time. It might be a good use of time to practice what would I do with my example set that I already have prepared if I was asked this question. How would I flex the example set that I already have prepared for this question? That is very, very good practice. But what is not good practice is to try and have an example for every single 140 odd questions that you can find on the internet. Thank you, Kevin, for proving my point. Appreciate it. Okay. Hey, Ahmed, how are you? It's lovely to see you. My new friend. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate the moral support. I have to say, one awesome thing about this and about the whole Amazon Interview Wiz thing is you get supporters. It's not just about people trying to come and get the most benefit out of the knowledge that I could share. I get so many people, you know, like Ben and Ashley Green and other people who just keep coming to support me, and I just want you guys to know that I really appreciate that. It's very important to me that I create some kind of a community here, so thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Okay. Saeed, you heard a friend of yours saying he went for an interview and the interviewer mentioned data points that he was completing. What are the data points? I think he was talking about the leadership principles. So Amazon, and I think this throws people quite a lot. Amazon talks about data as a British person, I would talk about as evidence or information. They don't mean numerical data, which before I joined Amazon would have been my interpretation of data. So I think what your friend is simply talking about is the leadership principle evidence that that interviewer was trying to gather in the course of the interview. That's my guess. Amazon uses the word data pretty much for everything. Okay, what else we got? I'm going to try and find somebody new. Oh, Asal, hello, Asal, welcome back. How are you doing? Nice to see you. JJ, I think I covered this one off already, JJ, a little bit higher up in terms of whether you can use the same example for multiple leadership principles. And yes, you can. If you've got a big, meaty example and it covers ownership and I write a lot, it's absolutely okay to recycle the example. My advice is always to people to try and avoid reusing the same example if you can, but in many cases you can't. You just don't have enough examples. So it's okay to recycle. If you're a more senior person, I'd say L6 and above, 1 or 2. If you are a more junior person, you can probably get away with 2 or 3. But if you recycle too many, the interviewer and the panel are going to think this person doesn't have a big bag of tricks. They haven't consistently and repeatedly over the course of their career done great things. Now, they won't say that if it's only 1 or 2 recycles, or for juniors 3 or 4, but if pretty much you only use 3 examples in your whole interview process, then that's definitely going to be an outtake for them. Okay, so moving on then. Woo. Hello. So some people don't have to do a writing sample. Not everybody does a writing sample. So I'd be surprised if you were an L6 or applying for an L6 role or above and you weren't asked for a writing sample. But quite a lot of more junior roles than that just aren't asked for writing samples because it's not part of a core part of their role. Equally, some people who are applying for more junior roles, L5s in product management, are asked for writing samples because it's a fundamental part of their daily job. So the process hasn't changed. It might just be that the particular role that you're applying for doesn't require a writing sample. Okay, you're lucky. Like, be pleased. Be pleased. That's one thing you don't have to deal with. I'm always happy in life if there's something I don't have to deal with. All right, so I'm conscious of time and I want to get to some new people further down. All right. Ashish, right, there we go. A lot of other streamers say it's the like button on the video that helps the algorithm over the thumbs up comment. I see only 4 though. People, go hit the like button on the video. Man, people, if he's right, go hit the like button, please. Let's help me and everybody else get to this content. I put loads into this and I've got great content. So the more the merrier that can see this content because they get it for free. Why would we not want to share great free stuff with people around the world? All right, thank you for that, Ashish. I appreciate that. I'm going to check that out because maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so what else do we have here? Okay, Ashish, so someone else up there had a question about levels. So in business roles, generally, so vendor managers, product managers, marketing manager, loss prevention manager, finance manager, category manager, vendor manager. I think I said vendor manager twice. In those types of business roles, there's a very clear structure that will help you tell the level. If you are a something manager, it's generally an L5. If you are a senior something manager, it's generally an L6. If you are a senior manager something, it's generally an L7. For product managers, that's slightly different. It's a principal product manager where you are an L7. But generally in business roles, that's the nomenclature, I think that's the right terminology, that is used and that you can use to work out whether it's an L5, L6 or L7. Okie dokie, hope that was helpful. JJ, you told me it was the last leadership principle. I'm not doing another one. I'm going to see what else other people have asked. And then maybe if I have time, I'll come back to that question. Okay, so guys, if you have only just joined, hit the like button on the video and to tell the algorithm that my stuff is cool, and it will help it surface in the algorithms. If you guys desperately need me to answer a question for you because we are coming up to the end and I've missed it, then slam up a super sticker. I think you can do them for as little as like $1 or £1 or whatever currency you're in, just so that I see it, because if you have an important question, I don't want to miss it because there's just a lot here. Okay, so moving on then. What else have we got? Okay. This is a reasonable question to ask, so I will answer it. So you had an interview and then received an invitation for the on-site, and you got an email to say the position was cancelled. Does that happen often? It depends a little what you mean by cancelled. So positions can be filled, and as soon as someone is considered to be bar raising and they've accepted an offer, the position closes. That could be a definition of cancelled. What can also happen is that there is a headcount challenge in the team, and they had intended to fill X number of roles, and they've been told that they no longer are allowed to fill those roles, and a role can be closed because they don't have the budget to cover the headcount. Another thing, so I guess that's an interpretation of cancelled as well. Another thing that can happen is a reorg. So a team, it has an initial structure and they've got headcount to fill and roles to fill, and then a restructure comes along. The whole team is reorganized, and the headcount, I suppose, and the availability of that headcount can be redistributed amongst that new organizational design, but that headcount will be probably assigned to different roles / jobs because you've had a reorganization. So again, a post could be cancelled off the back of that. So that's another interpretation of cancelled. So does it happen very often? Well, the first, yes, very, very often because jobs get filled. The second, yes, sadly, many businesses go through budget challenges and headcount challenges. So yes, that happens often. Reorgs, yes, I would say that each team on average probably has a reorg once a year. I think I had a reorg once a year, every year for my entire 5 years at working at Amazon, and indeed in the 10 years working for British Telecom, who was my prior employer before that. So reorgs happen pretty much annually, at least in my experience. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Kevin, thank you for my super chat. Thank you for my $5. Bless you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, what else do we have here? Do you know what I did forget to tell you at the beginning? And let me tell you now before I forget. For years, it hasn't been years, for at least a year since I've had my YouTube channel, people have been asking me if I could create kind of a PDF version of my content, because although they like watching the videos, they obviously spend their time scribbling away furiously as I spew hopefully useful, insightful information. And they were asking if I could do a PDF version, and it's taken me ages to get around to it, but there is now a PDF version of my entire channel. If you go into the descriptions, you can click on a link which will take you to a website called Buy Me a Coffee, which I think is quite a common website with creators, and you can snaffle yourself the PDF version of the entire website there. It is $25, but hopefully it is well worth it, and it will save your little fingies getting sore in terms of writing everything down. So if you want notes, go click on the descriptions and you will be able to find them there. Okay. What else do we have? 5 minutes left. Let's see what else we've got. We've still, oh my God, we've got loads still to go. That's the problem with this. I never know how much is down the bottom. So I'm sorry, I'm going to miss out a chunk. If you have something that you really want me to see in the next 5 minutes, throw on a super sticker, only $1, something like that, will be fine. Okay. Okay. Now I really have no, I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name because I know I will get it horribly wrong and I don't want to embarrass myself. So I'm just going to answer your question for you. It's a two-part question. Basically, this person is saying that they were rejected off a previous role. They had very positive feedback about their performance, but still got rejected. And the recruiter said they'd be looking for a more relevant role. Is that a nice way of rejecting? Yes and no, right? If your panel and your recruiter really thought that you just weren't right for Amazon, they would just reject you, and your recruiter would have no shame whatsoever in saying, I'm really sorry, you're not right for Amazon, apply again in 6 months' time. Now, they're nice people, but they don't have to sugarcoat it, and they would be happy not happy, but it wouldn't bother them not to sugarcoat it. If they're saying that they're looking out for something else for you, it means that they thought there was something there and there was something, a little something that might make you a really good candidate for a different role. So I think they're telling you the truth. They are going to have a look for what might be an alternative role for you. That said, the odds of them finding it and then you going on to interview and getting that role aren't huge. So don't rely on it, right? Don't rely that this person is suddenly your mentor for finding jobs in Amazon. Is not their job to find you a job. It's their job to fill roles that they are responsible for. So if they can find another role somewhere else easily and quickly that looks like a good match, they will literally chuck you over the fence to their colleague who is responsible for that role. But if they can't find one, they're not going to spend weeks and hours trying to find you something. So you have to be an owner in this situation. Even though they say they will try and help you, which they might, you have to own it. So it sounds like you're a strong candidate that people liked. So next time you might have better luck. So go see if there are any other roles that might appeal to you on the job portal. Fingers crossed for you. Good luck. Okay, so 2 minutes left, so I might squeeze in. Oh, there are so many that I'm not going to make too. I'm so sorry. Let's try and make one more. Jasir, I'm glad you asked this question because we had kind of the same conversation at a live the other day with Kevin, who you've seen earlier on. So you're saying you suffer from anxiety, you get quite nervous about people watching you when you're doing something. Is it appropriate to ask the recruiter for alternatives? I'm always big on transparency, and I feel very strongly, and I think culturally we're all moving to a place where we try to be more inclusive when it comes to the different ways that people think and deal with situations in interview. So I would definitely be mentioning it to the recruiter, and potentially there might be an option for your interviewer to just switch off their camera, give you a couple of minutes to solve the problem, go have a bathroom break, come back, and then you can talk them through your solution. That might be a way forward, but the best thing to do is be honest, be transparent, explain to the recruiter how your kind of neuro pathways work and how you feel. They will want you to be able to perform at your best, right? That is the whole intention of recruiters and interviewers. They want you to be able to perform at your best. And if being able to perform at your best means a methodology that's slightly different from the norm, then it's your right to at least explain that that's your situation. So I would definitely raise it with your recruiter. Okay, thank you for that question, Jasir. I love it when people ask that because it raises issues that sometimes people are too embarrassed to raise, and I don't think people should be embarrassed to raise them. So thank you for the bravery of that one. Okay, so we are now at time. So I did say at the beginning I was going to give you an awesome freebie. So here it is. So if you do not already know, here is my website, AmazonInterviewWizAcademy.com. And if you go there, you can get the Customer Obsession Leadership Principle Masterclass completely free. No strings attached. I will not chase you with follow-up marketing. I know pretty much everybody gives freebies as ways of gathering email addresses and emailing customers, putting them on marketing lists. I don't do that. I am a marketer. That's kind of against my religion. But I don't do it because I feel that the quality of my content should be enough. And if you watch that content and you don't feel that it is enough to convince you to buy other elements of my program, then that's on me, not on you, and therefore I shouldn't be chasing you. So go get it. It's totally free. I chose Customer Obsession because every single one of you will be asked questions on Customer Obsession. Every single one of you will be asked because it's the most fundamental leadership principle that crosses every single job in Amazon. So if I can give you a gift that will help you out, generically, Customer Obsession is the one. So take it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it really helps. Thank you for joining today. I am really sorry that I couldn't get through everybody's questions. Please come again. I'm back on Monday and Wednesday again next week, but I will be dual streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn. I've been given LinkedIn live permission. Whoop, whoop. So I will be dual streaming on those two platforms. So if you prefer LinkedIn and you don't want to hop over here to YouTube, then that's fine. You can follow on LinkedIn. If you aren't a subscriber, please subscribe and then you'll see all my new videos. I am always putting up new content. And of course, click on the reminder for these lives and you will get reminded when they come up. Okay, that's it. We're done for today. Thank you very much. Be safe and look after yourselves and all of your family. And I hope to see you all soon. Good luck with your interviews for anyone who's got interviews coming up. Stay safe. Goodbye.